right, guys, we are back. You are listening to K-Talk Radio, 1640 AM. This is the show, Utah Home Sweet Home. I am your host, Yoshi Shiraki, and my guest is Matt Strong. And we're diving deep into real estate investing, borrowing money, and all of the amazing good things that come with it. So, Matt, we will, and you can keep
I'm just having fun with my friends right now.
Yeah. You can keep that going on. So now we're going to be diving into kind of the step-by-step. So somebody finds a deal, obviously, the step-by-step of when somebody comes to you. So they've already found the deal.
Right.
Okay, so and you've talked about a checklist before, but just so the listeners kind of have an idea of what this picture looks like, you mentioned you don't really look at the W-2s and then taxes in the past, like current, like a Zions or a Bank of America would. So what's kind of the first thing somebody calls you up, they're listening on this show, let's just say hypothetically, let's keep this easy, they just inherited grandma's property, right? Okay. Tons of equity in that house. They already own it. But they're thinking, you know what, let's sell grandma's property, but let's fix it up so we can get top dollar, but oh, great, none of us have any money.
Sure.
So, maybe we can call Matt Strong.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would something like that look like?
Well, that example is super simple.
Okay,
right? Because they owe nothing on it.
Yes.
They pretty much, in this case, just need the rehab money.
Right.
Right? So, let's say it's valued at, let's say the ARV is $100,000.
Okay.
Right? Keep some number super simple.
Awesome.
And let's say they need, say, $50,000
Okay.
in rehab. These numbers probably don't make sense. But in theory, so like they would call me.
Mm-hmm.
This is so. At the end of the day, the process should be very simple.
Okay.
This should not be complicated. I mean, it is complicated because every deal has its own unique challenges, right?
Yes.
But, you would call me, and pretty much over the phone, what I like to do is just get a quick highlight of like, hey, what do you think it is? What do you think the ARV is? What do you think the repair value is? Great. And then in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is probably something that we can move to stage 2, right? Which is, please send me an email and I'll respond back to you with our checklist. But, then we kind of start formalizing what we talked about on the phone.
Got it.
Because, we're starting to keep a paper trail because I can't remember everything, right?
Exactly.
What are the numbers on it? And then I'll get my checklist completed. And then we'll come to an agreement, whether on the phone or through an email or something, kind of like a commitment saying, hey, Yoshi, this house will be able to fund this much money and we can have it funded by this date. Mm-hmm. This is what we need in the meantime. So we'll set very clear expectations, right?
Yes.
But it's going to be very simple. And if you're dealing with a lender where things just don't make sense, like, I'll get you, at closing, we'll put together the docs and we'll talk about what it's going to cost.
Right.
At the time we do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like I want to know from you what your plan is.
Yeah.
You need to know from me what my plan is as far as what I'm going to charge you, right?
Exactly.
So if it's not clear really, really fast, like what you're expecting of me and what I'm expecting of you, then there might be a reason to start looking around, right? And so then it's I don't want to. It's just very simple, right? Like then there's the part of like, let's coordinate where to go for title.
Okay.
How we're going to do the loan documents, what kind of documents you're going to sign, which are very simple.
Yep.
A promissory note.
Yep.
A deed of trust.
Yep.
And a personal guarantee, typically, right? So pretty much all you're saying is like, you're loaning us this money, we're going to pay you back.
Yes.
Right? And so then those will be signed. Obviously, you need to get insurance. There's some other like parts to that, but really, at the end of the day, it should be super simple. And what I tell you beforehand, as far as this is what it's going to cost, that should match, obviously, what you're signing.
Yes.
Right? And then I can verify that what you're telling me, for the most part, is true through a title report.
Right.
Like that you actually do own it.
Yes.
Free and clear and inherited it from grandma.
Right.
And I can estimate, just like you are, like what the repairs are going to be.
Right.
Right? So all of that stuff that we talk about should end up being verified one way or another by the time we get to the final, closing table to get you the money.
Right.
Through the loan documents, through the title policy, all that kind of stuff. And if something doesn't quite match up right, I hear stories at times of like, they'll tell you it's 2 points and 12%. And then the lender does their docs and it's like, you know what, on this one I forgot to tell you, it's actually 3 points and 14%.
Right.
Like I hear that all the time. Not all the time, but you hear it.
You hear it,
and
absolutely.
So there you're in a really bad spot because you maybe have a commitment and you have earnest money that's non-refundable. I mean, I've heard people tell me, like, I'm never using them again, but I had to close on it because I would have lost so much more.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
right.
So you got to, at some point, this is a trust thing where after you do a few, you know each other's process.
Yeah.
You know, so I always tell people the first loan we do is going to be the hardest because you're going to be worried about me if I'm going to do what I'm going to say I'm going to do, and I'm going to maybe be worried about you that you're going to do what you say you're going to do.
Right.
But once we have a successful experience, you know, then we can repeat that, and everything can go quicker the next time.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool. So then everything comes along to great. You both agreed on the numbers in the loan. So you mentioned the title company. So now you're closing with the title company.
Yep.
And then how can you share with our listeners? Obviously, a lender needs to be protected, right? When they're loaning money, they need to be protected so that if they're not paid back, maybe they remodel grandma's house and goes, oh my gosh, this thing's so nice, let's move into it, right? And now your money's tied into there as there's lender. What kind of steps do you take to protect yourself, obviously?
So we are always going to be loaning in first position, which means that we have the primary lien on the property with terms of our documents that the borrower signs, basically saying that if you don't pay us back, we have the right to foreclose and take the property back.
Like any other bank.
Like any other bank, right?
Yeah.
So that's our hammer, right? To say, if you ultimately don't do what you're agreeing to do, that's okay.
Yes.
We'll do it for you.
Right.
Like we'll take it back.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we've had to do that just a handful of times.
Sure.
Because sometimes it just, we've had some people commit fraud
Yeah.
or whatever, right? And so we have to have that tool to be able to take the property back if needed. And so that brings up a good point. As a hard money lender, we will not lend on owner-occupied or primary residence.
Got it.
Because those are always harder for the borrower to pay off quickly.
Right.
Because usually they're borrowing from us because maybe they can't get a regular loan or their credit's not good. So a fix and flip is a great loan for both of us because it's usually vacant, it's usually rehabbed, and it's going to sell. It may not sell for what everybody wants, but at least there's an exit to get out of the property. So the quick answer is, we have, just like any bank would do, we have a deed of trust and a mortgage that we can foreclose on if it goes in default and the borrower does not do what they're supposed to do.
Got it.